Welcome everybody back to our webinar series Learn to Trade the Market. My name is always Stefan Friedrichowski, and you know how to reach me. Just take the email address friedrichowski@argusfx.com. And by the way, thanks to ArgusFX, who make that webinar series possible. Today is 14th of March 2017, and there's a lot to report within the markets as always, but the real markets are not directly the topic, so we don't really discuss the markets. What we want to do is, as always, we want to trade the market, and how to learn. That is the purpose of exactly that webinar series. I have to mention, as always, risk warning. So we talk here about trading strategies, but you know, whenever you do your own trading activities, you do it simply by your own and on your own risk. Therefore, you find that risk warning always on my slides. What else I have to mention, starting here? Yeah, the slides are already uploaded, so you can download those slides already via the GoToWebinar control panel. So then you have all the links, for example, the link to the YouTube channel, in order to have access to all previous webinars or whatever you found interesting on that YouTube channel as well. So I have to mention that always on Thursday we have that webinar series for the more advanced, so how to develop trading strategies, but you find all the recordings on my YouTube channel as well. By the way, trading strategies, trading setups, yeah, as announced last week already, today is another trading setup, and that setup runs under the name LeadLag, and the name is already part of what we do there. We look for things which are strong, things which are weak, and we derive our decisions exactly out of that, and that will be applied to the Forex market, and we will increase our, let's call it, our underlying universum a little bit. So up to now we have selected exactly 8 underlyings which we trade. Now we will add some more, but you don't have to look to all those charts. That is part of that trading setup, the LeadLag Forex setup, because we don't, we only have to look exactly 6 charts, and we will know everything, so to say. Yeah, so that strategy will be introduced today. And of course, we have to add our nomenclature for that setup to our overall comments in MT4, so that we find all the trades corresponding to a specific trading strategy. First, I start, as always, with a recap, and now it's getting more and more interesting because we do some trades. So we want to look how those trades are running, or which trades have been closed since last week. So you see, I have switched to my other screen, but now I'm a little bit lost. Just a second, because my control panel is not working. So just a second. I hope now everything works. So yeah, now everything should work. Hopefully I have not lost that much for the recordings, but anyhow, we will proceed here. So now you can see our account for that webinar series. We have started with a €5,000 account. Right now, you see two numbers here. Balance is 5,059 and equity is 5,113. So we have already some profits made. So we have totally the account, the balance of the account, that is the number which does not change as we speak. The other one, the equity, is including all the floatings, so the open trades. So we have still two trades open right now, and those trades have been opened last week. One is for the breakout scenario we introduced during the last couple of webinars, the breakout W1. And there's still one trade running, that is the US dollar Japanese yen. And we have opened another trade last week that was a long trade on Euro Japanese yen based on the strategy multiple EMA. So looking to that trade, so you have to, maybe you have to downscale the GoToWebinar control panel, because it's within my charts, it's in the right upper corner. So you see there the trade is running, and you see still the reason for the trade. So we have that constriction within the EMAs, and therefore we have opened a long trade, and that trade is still running. Stop loss and take profit will be not changed, so we simply wait for the end of the trade. The other one was opened because of the breakout scenario, and since now the trade is running, nothing is stopped or deleted over the weekend. All the other trades which have been pending, they are automatically deleted. And you can see that if I now go to the account history, here, just a second, now we have it, and let me scroll down here. Then you can see, okay, there are some, I have to add the comment, then we can see everything. So now you can see that there have been some trades being expired, so they have been deleted at the end of last week, and you can see another trade which have reached the take profit, and that was a trade on British pound US dollar based on that breakout setup as well, this breakout W1. So yeah, that's nice that we have here some additional profits within the trade, and you can see within my chart that's now the lower right end. You can see the chart with the green line. That green line indicates exactly the entry and exit of the trade. So the trade, by the way, is has reached take profit exactly today at 10:11. So there was a big move to the south for British pound US dollar. So therefore we reached the take profit for that trade. So it looks not that bad. But you know that don't draw any final conclusions about those setups, only being here in the profit right now. No, we need more trades, more statistics, and then we can draw our conclusions. Up to now, it's simply too early. Still, I like that the account is in the profit, of course, why not? But it does not tell you finally anything about the trading setups here which we use. Okay, so that is our recap. And by the way, just one thing to mention, because I don't want to forget that I switched to the other overview for a second here, W1. Because that would be the one, if we would add a little bit more trading praxis out of that setup, we would use exactly that profile here. And the thing I want to outline here is simply, if you look for the DAX, the Germany 30 here, and you look where my mouse is now rotating, then we see exactly what I mentioned being an inside bar or an inside candle, you see that that small red candle here lies completely within the candle of the week before. So if we want to trade that setup today, then we would use the previous candle, so that green candle here. And what you can see as well here, so if we would have, now it's wood, if we would have opened, for example, a trade for that breakout W1 scenario, then, for example, a short trade on Brent would be opened already, so that the trade would be running. Other trades I would not see right now. The British pound, yeah, that trade would have been opened as well already as we speak, more or less. But now back to the slides and back to the new trading setup. The new trading setup called LeadLag Forex, that is based, yeah, that Forex, trading Forex is always a trade which is related to two currencies. Okay, that sounds obvious, I know. But if you trade, for example, Euro US dollar, then you trade the currency Euro against US dollar. Or let's say you trade the exchange rate between those two currencies. And sometimes talking about something like Euro US dollar, one might forget that it consists out of two real existing currencies. So what we really trade is Euro against US dollar. So the trading language, sometimes that is called so-called ratio trade, because we trade the quotient of those two currencies, and the quotient is nothing else than the exchange rate. To introduce that strategy, let me first just show you a few examples here, and we will do it in a minute in the MT4 as well. So, for example, if you look for Euro US dollar and you look for Euro Japanese yen, that would open simply two charts, and we'll do it in MT4 in a minute. But if you look to those two charts and those two numbers, then you automatically know everything about US dollar Japanese yen as well, even not looking to the chart. But you know everything. And the simple reason is quite obvious. And it becomes even more obvious if you write that symbol Euro US dollar a little bit different, like here, Euro divided by US dollar. That is valid, or you can do it. But now, if you now look for Euro US dollar and you divide that by Euro Japanese yen, formally that are simply two numbers, and I have the example here in the next line. Then you divide two numbers, and what you get would be the price for the currency Japanese yen against US dollar. That is a little bit strange, because you know that symbol in reality is always written as US dollar Japanese yen and not vice versa. But look to that quotient here, Euro divided by US dollar and totally divided by Euro Japanese yen. Then you can outline here the Euro. And finally, you get Japanese yen divided by US dollar. And if you turn it around, then you have US dollar Japanese yen. So for just an example, and that was at the morning when I wrote down those slides, the price at a specific moment, the price for Euro Japanese yen was 122.4, and euro US dollar, the price was 1.0638. And if I now divide those two numbers by each other, I get 115.06. And it's not a surprise that that number is real. So that was derived by that quotient, but I compared the same number to the real price within my chart of US dollar Japanese yen, and indeed it was the same number, and it always must be the same number. What you can see here already, that Forex pairs are, I sometimes call it, totally correlated. If you think about a couple of Forex pairs like Euro, US dollar, Euro, Japanese yen, and so on and so on, it can't be that, for example, one goes only up and all the others goes only down. They are correlated to each other. They are linked to each other. So, and that we can make use out of that. But let's first revisit this looking for Euro US dollar, looking for Euro Japanese yen. Then we automatically know everything about US dollar Japanese yen. Let me show it a little bit here within that chart. And what I will do is I will take that profile here and I will simply save it under the new name. And finally, I will call it LeadLag H4 because I will switch to H4 candles later. So let me start here, and I simply delete all charts we don't need here anymore. And I have to delete this one here as well. And now let me rearrange everything and let me change to H4. And I want to change the sequence, the order of those charts. So I want to have US dollar Japanese yen being the last one. So now I have it. And you can see, maybe not automatically, but if you have those two values, Euro, US dollar, Euro, Japanese yen, and if you compare those charts visually, then you can maybe see, okay, this one goes down, this one goes down, and since both go more or less down, it means for Euro, US dollar, Japanese yen, it's a little bit more flat. Let me check that on another scale here. Let's have this scale. And maybe we can see things a little bit more obvious. Unfortunately, it's not that obvious. Let's start here with the beginning. You see a more flat behavior within Euro, US dollar. You see it going south for Euro, Japanese yen, and then automatically US dollar, Japanese yen goes south as well. What I just want to point out here is that knowing two means I know the third one as well. It becomes a little bit more tricky and a little bit more meaningful if we enlarge our euro and another currency charts. Let me introduce finally that LeadLag Forex trading setup. Let us start that we would consider simultaneously those 6 Forex pairs, Euro, Australian dollar, Euro, Canadian dollar, and so on and so on. So we would have just 6 charts, those 6, builded by in total 7 underlying currencies. And by the way, those 7 currencies are the real major, or those are heading the hit list of most traded currencies. And the total leader would be Euro, US dollar, by the way. Looking to those 6 Forex pairs would tell you everything for about, in total, 21 Forex pairs. And the trading setup is in that way that we look to those 6 charts and we look for the strongest. Let's say we have a big increase in Euro, Canadian dollar, for example. And we look for the weakest. Let's assume the weakest going south would be Euro, Switzerland, France. Then we know exactly what is the favorite pair to trade. It would be Canadian dollar against Swiss francs. Exactly that would be the pair of choice. Because by looking for the strongest and the weakest, then we know exactly which of, in total, 21 Forex pairs is the strongest or in total weakest going south. That would be the trade direction. We automatically know exactly the best pair to trade, because that pair has the strongest trend. And that helps us. That kind of strategy, looking to 6 Forex pairs, helps us to identify that Forex pair with the real and strongest trend behavior. There's 1 or 2 exceptions out of that, and that is simply if, for example, all those 6 Forex pairs go north. Then there does not make sense to combine any 2, and we simply would select the strongest itself out of those 6. And the same is true vice versa. So if all 6 go south, then our favorite would be that one which goes south the strongest. So we get a selection process out of that setup for, in total, 21 Forex pairs, in a sense that we know exactly the one with the strongest trend, either upwards or downwards. I will show it in a chart in a minute. We will help ourselves with 2 tools, or just helping instruments. So one help we will use an EMA 40, and we will look to the slope a little bit to identify uptrends, upwards trends, downward trends, and so on. And the other trick we will use is that we scale our charts exactly the same with respect to percentage changes. The reason for that will become obvious when we do it in the chart. But let me already point out here that if you look, that is, by the way, in principle, if you look for our chart selections like this one here, now we have only 3 here, but in a minute we will have a 6th one here. Sometimes charts are a little bit misleading, because trading itself is something which is acting on a percentage base. But looking for charts, they are always scaled in a way that they fill the total y-axis. But sometimes it might be better to downscale one of those charts. And you will see the reason in a minute. But let's start that Forex LeadLag strategy directly here. So what do we need? We need 6 charts. And let me first get the symbols. So we need charts for Euro US dollar, we have already. And we need Euro Australian dollar, Euro Canadian dollar, Euro Swiss franc, Euro Japanese yen, and Euro, not Euro British pound, and now Euro Japanese yen. So we have all those here, and we can use already one chart here, so that we have that one as well. And I want to have all charts looking the same, so therefore I first look for the EMA. The EMA I want to have with 40, and I will make that chart as a template. And I simply make it as the default template. Sorry, my mistake. I have applied that template and not saved it as a new template. So give me a second here. So now let's have the right period, EMA 40, and now save that template as a default template. And default makes life easier because then we simply can open new charts and then we have it directly. So, but here we want to have that template as well applied, and here already same template. So now we have those already ready, and now we need a few other charts: Euro Australian dollar, Euro Canadian dollar, and the last one missing is Euro Swiss franc. And now we want to rearrange everything. So now we have all the 6 charts here. And you can see already here that in principle, at least slightly, all euros against whatever go north. But now the question is, which one is the strongest? Which has the strongest trend? And therefore we have, on the one hand, the EMA, because it helps us already to identify which one might be the strongest. And you, for example, would immediately see that a Euro Switzerland franc is not the strongest here, because that's nearly going south already. But the next trick we can use, we insert here within the chart simply a rectangle. And then I will first get one rectangle here, and now the real trick is that we open the numbers for that one, and we do a rectangle with a percentage height. You will see what I mean. I want to have the upper corner, for example, at 1.068. And I want to have the other the lower end of that rectangle, just 0.5% below. How do I get that? I take that number 1.068 and multiply that number with 0.995. And that means that the percentage height of that rectangle is exactly 0.5%. So it would be this one here. And now let me do the same, for example, in another chart. In this one here. So insert, shapes, and then I go for rectangle. And I will first simply draw one here, and then double click, then press the right mouse button, and I can change the numbers. And once again, we do this only that we get later all the charts looking same scaled. So I do the same procedure here. I have, for example, that one corner or the upper side, 0.873, and I multiply that with 0.995, meaning 0.5% below I get the other one. And that would be 86863. And now you can see no change, but let me check. Whether everything is still right. 873, 86863. So now we have the scale right. And you see now, comparing those two charts, Euro, US dollar, Euro, British pound, you see two rectangles. Both have a height of 0.5%. That means that the Euro US dollar chart is less zoomed. So let me change it. So I do it simply visually. So what I do here is I change the scale in a way that both rectangles have the same, let's say, visual height. And that now means both are same scaled. And now we see directly Euro British pound is much stronger than Euro US dollar. So what has not been obvious before is obvious now. So that helps us to identify the best trend behavior. I have to do here a little bit more work. So let me at least one additional example here, Euro Canadian dollar. And I want to have that rectangle here as well. So I always just first draw that rectangle by hand, and then I change the numbers always with the same rule. So 1.432 multiplied with 995, and I get 1.42484. I can have that one as well. And you see, okay, even that one is a little bit smaller now than this one. That means we have to downscale this one a little bit more. And it means I have to downscale that one a little bit more as well. And I simply do it visually. But what you can see, those two Forex pairs, British pound and Canadian dollar, they have a real strong uptrend. And maybe the lowest one is here, so that I can have that one here as well. So I have to insert an additional rectangular here. So I know it takes a little bit of time here, but it's worth to do it, because with that optical trick of those rectangles, we get the charts in the same scale. And what you do, you don't have to do the rescaling every minute, so that has some time. You will see from time to time, maybe once a day, you have to readjust the rectangles, or better to say, the scale of the graph. So rectangle properties, and now I can do the same math here. 1.079 multiplied 0.995, and here we are. So it's 1.0736. And then we have the right scale here, and you see what happens. Percentage-wise, that rectangle is of the same size, but it looks huge. That means we have to downscale that chart. And you see more and more that it is really worth to do that, because it helps to really to objective handle the question, which Forex pair has the strongest trend. So we have two left. It will take maybe additional 5 minutes, then we have the charts ready. So please excuse that it takes some time, but I need that, and I want to have it directly here done with you together, that everybody knows exactly what I'm doing here, and don't only show the results. So rectangle properties, once again, and I want to have a rectangle with a percentage size of 0.5%, and I get it by multiplying the upper limit with 0.995, and I have automatically the right size here. So that looks already like the other ones, so I don't have to rescale. So final one is Euro Japanese Yen. Insert shape, and then we are nearly done. Last one. So 122.711 times 0.995, and I get my right size. Finally, meaning that I have in all 6 charts rectangles with a fixed percentage size. And I do it simply visually. Sometimes I take that one here and go for the grid and use the grid as the outer limits. But anyhow, you see already what happens. So now we can apply our setup. And we have to identify the strongest and the weakest. So as we speak, you can see that all go north. So it would be exactly that kind of exception that all 6 go north. So we would, the Forex pair of choice would be within those 6, the strongest itself. And the strongest here is either Euro British Pound or Euro Canadian Dollar. And that Forex pair would be our choice for our next trade. Let me assume for a second that we identify already Euro Swiss francs as being the weakest and the one really already going south. Then we would trade Canadian dollar against Swiss franc. And I will do exactly that kind of trade now because I want to have that you see something as a combination out of those 6. But so we need now a new chart. And what we need is the symbol Canadian dollar against Swiss franc. And out of that chart, we go for a trade. So what I now always do is I open exactly that chart and look for a good trading opportunity within that Forex pair. And you see, wow, that now goes really south. Very good. And we can look for a trading opportunity within that pair. So looking, we know that this one has the strongest trend of all 21 Forex pairs because we choose the strongest and the weakest under the assumption that this already goes south. That comment I have to make. Otherwise, we would directly trade Euro Canadian Dollar. We know now the Forex pair with the strongest trend, Canadian Dollar, Swiss franc, and we can look for our trading opportunity. So, looking for the chart, you see one possibility would be, for example, going short directly without any weight. In principle, that would be my favorite trading here already. And we now need a good stop loss for the trade as well. We trade now on a H4 time frame. And let me just one example for a potential stop loss. A potential stop loss might be exactly here. A little bit lower would be enough already. You see that we are above the highs of the current candle, above the high of the previous candle, and a couple of candles before. Another possibility for a trade with a little bit more room for stop loss would be somewhere here. So that kind of trade I would, let's call it, accept as well, going for a little bit longer trading period. But now let's simply go for the trade, and we will do the trade with a more tight stop loss. And I have to write down the numbers, and then we go into our Excel sheet for stop loss calculation or take profit calculation and lot size calculation. So I want to have a stop loss at 0.75077, and since I want to go market with in that trade would open at 7477 about. And now we have to calculate the risk for the trade as well. Since you know already how we do it, you know we trade Canadian dollar against Swiss franc, so we would need the exchange rate Euro Swiss franc as well, and that exchange rate right now is 1.072. So those are the numbers we need for our calculation, and we can go in our standard Excel sheet and calculate the risk. Just a second here. Then we can enter all the numbers. We do a Forex trade, so contract size is already set to 100,000. Exchange rate is Euro Swiss franc because we trade Canadian dollar against Swiss franc. So it's 1.0722. So our entry of choice is market at 7477 with a stop loss of 0.75077. And risk for the trade is 50 euro. So that will give a trade with a lot size of 0.17. And having a risk-reward ratio of 3 is a good risk-reward ratio for that trading strategy. So our take profit would be 0.73849. So let me enter that trade here within the chart. So trading, new order, and we start with lot size. We go market, that's correct, and I have it on my last slide, and you have it maybe already downloaded. We give it a name LeadLag first. Then we indicate the time frame of the chart which has generated that trade, and our stop loss has been derived out of the chart. Therefore, we use the suffix underscore chart. So stop loss for the trade is 0.75077, and take profit is 0.73849. So our trade is ready, volume checked, stop loss checked, market execution, and we want to go short. So trade is running. We are short within the market, and stop loss is checked right now. So I go with a mouse over the stop loss line, and that indicates me slightly a number slightly below 50 euro as intended. So that trade is now running and everything is ready. So let me show you a little bit around how I would go further, or what you can do as well here. So since that trade is running and we don't have any huge change here within the next minutes, so we don't have to change our trading within the same time frame. So H4 we have done, and maybe within a couple of hours we might revisit exactly those charts, and we will look for a next additional trade. Or you can do it on a daily basis, maybe every time at lunchtime, whatever. So you can choose by your own. What I want to do here, just for that you see that in principle that the kind of setup works on different time scales, let me change dramatically the time frame. So I now go here for M15, and of course, in principle, I would need a new rectangles and everything. So since I don't want to do the same exercise once again, I only change the time frame, and that we have a look visually for the strongest and the weakest on that time frame. You know that for that selection process, it's better to have that fixed scale. But I don't want to do the same job right now here. But anyhow, if you are interested in doing that trading setup on different time frames, I would recommend that you create profiles for those different timescales, and then you need a little bit other values for those rectangles, because 0.5% for M15 is too huge. It might be that you then, not might be, then you need something about 0.1%. Let's have a look on what we see right now here as well. Here we have exactly one chart going north. That is Euro Canadian dollar. And we have a couple of charts or a couple of currencies going south. And you see by eye, maybe the strongest going south is either Euro US dollar or Euro Japanese yen. So one of those two. Looking for the history, Euro US dollar goes a little bit more south. So now I declare being the strongest Euro Canadian dollar and the weakest Euro US dollar. That means, hey, we know on an M15 time frame the strongest trend we will have for US dollar, Canadian dollar. Let's have a look to the chart. So we do a new selection process on a different time scale. And now in total, with the strongest trend would be US dollar, Canadian dollar, simply because Euro Canadian dollar is going strongest north and Euro US dollar is going strongest south. So we need another symbol. We need US dollar, Canadian dollar. And you found that one under majors here. And now we can have a look to a chart US dollar, Canadian dollar. And of course, I can expect something which really goes south, which is south or north. You will see in this case it's going north, but I want to have it on an M15 base because that was the time frame we used. So now you see it's really getting upwards here. And that's the one with the strongest. And that since the trend is your friend, that's quite valid. So entering trades into the trend direction is always good. So in this case, we can decide once again, hey, we want to trade this one to the north, so it would be a long trade. And I will not enter that trade additionally because that was only for education purpose here, going to those smaller time frames. And I don't want to have those kind of trades within that account. That's now a little bit more already going for scalping, for shorter and shorter trades. of course, it's not real scalp trading. That is on a even shorter time frame, but in principle, that one would be the trade of choice. And in this case, I can show what I would do here. I would do a trade like buy limit in that region here, and I want to have a stop loss which is really far below something like a stop loss already down to this candle here. So that would be the stop of choice. And now I have done already so many things here. Then I will write it down. 1.34782 would be the buy limit, so the entry price. Stop loss 1.34407. Let's check for a second what would that trade be in terms of volume. So you see what we will trade here is US dollar, Canadian dollar, and therefore we need the exchange rate Euro, Canadian dollar as well. And that one is 1.434. And then we have all the numbers for doing the risk calculation, and let's check that. And then finally decide whether we want to make that trade or not. So exchange rate Euro Canadian dollar is 1.434, and we have a potential entry at 1.34782 with stop loss at 1.34407. And you see the lot size would be even higher. 0.19 would be the lot size for that trade, and with a risk-reward ratio of 1.35907. And still, I will not really enter the trade, but what I want at least to show you, I want to have a view about that take profit. So take profit would be 1.359. Okay, it would be about here. So there would be the take profit for that trade. And you see now, so this red line, middle red line, would be the entry. Stop loss here. It might be a good choice to go a little bit more south with the stop loss here. But now let's check, can we reach in that take profit? Let me simply change time frame here once again to H4 in this case. So even in H4, the trade would look quite well. So you see we have a strong upwards trend on H4 base here as well. But entering the trade would mean going a little bit south, and now I'm convinced, because we can use that time frame here as well, that we can go for the trade, but we would change a little bit here our stop loss. So stop loss would be changed to 1.34148. Let me go for the Excel sheet here as well. And so stop loss now at 1.34148. That will reduce the lot size to 0.11 and would change take profit to 1.36684. And we don't want to trade directly market. We want to trade it as a buy limit order. So let me do it. So lot size is 0.11. Trade type is a buy limit order, so it's a pending order, and that pending order is a buy limit order. comment, in this case, LeadLag M15, and stop loss is out of the chart. And we want to have it at a specific entry price, and that entry price is 1.34782 with a stop loss 1.34148 and a take profit of 1.36684. Everything is set. We check volume, looks good, and we can place the order. So now we have placed a buy limit order directly under the middle red line, and we check the stop loss value close to 50 euro once again. So it looks good. So back to our kind of strategy. You know what to do. What we do is we analyze 6 Forex pairs, everything against euro. We look for the strongest, we look for the weakest, and then we know that Forex pair with the overall best trend behavior. And so that is the kind of selection process. And we use a specific trick to scale all the charts in a similar way. And that trick is drawing a rectangle with a fixed percentage height, and then we can rescale the charts in a way that everything looks the same. And you will see that is already something which helps you, because sometimes charts are misleading simply by their scale. So it's quite interesting to do that kind of setup. And you know the nomenclature for that setup as well. We will practice once again next week for that setup, and we will go through all setups next week just for practicing and having everything up and running. And now this was the third strategy I have introduced here, but we need a little bit more practice on that as well. So that we will do next week. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me. Just send me an email. I will try to get a fast response for you, and it would be a pleasure for me just helping you for whatever reason. So that's for now. Already 1 hour over, and I hope you enjoyed it once again. See you next week, hopefully, and have a good day and have a good week. Bye-bye.